So I might start before the session just outlining what you want to get out of today.
I guess just to check in and, just to talk about my experiences a bit more.
Okay, perfect. Now, before you left for Europe in our last session, what did we discuss?
We talked about how I was a bit anxious towards my trip, just more so not cancelling the excitement, but just kind of diminishing it a little bit because of certain people that were going and me not knowing some people, but we also talked through some strategies, so I got a lot more confidence out of it.
Perfect. And what were those strategies that we talked about?
We talked about finding my small group of closer friends that I can kind of escape with if I ever had those longer days.
Yep. And when you say escape, can you clarify that so I know exactly what you mean when you say that word?
I guess I mean just to kind of relax around. I mean, it's a very large group of people that were going, and I was kind of nervous because I'm quite a confident and eccentric person, and people always kind of associate me with fun and excitement, so I was very worried that if I were to have a day where I was tired or maybe just not in the best of moods, that people wouldn't be able to accept that I didn't want to be on for them that day. But yeah, having my small group of friends with me was really helpful.
That's excellent that we identified that strategy for you. Now, when I hear the words fun and exciting, I can't help but feel like maybe you're a bit of an extroverted personality type. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd say that's 100% true. I mean, I like to have fun and I like to bring joy to others, so I think as long as everyone's smiling and they're having a good time, then I'm doing my job.
Great. Now, when you're in larger groups, would you say that you sort of take on the responsibility of the leader role?
I wouldn't say it's my responsibility, but I do naturally kind of fall into a leadership position in most situations.
Yep.
But I think I'm also kind of seen as like a big sister to some people.
Right. Now, is that a role that you took on for Europe?
Yeah, it was. I guess the teachers kind of saw it as an opportunity because obviously it's their trip as well, and they don't want to spend every night, with some people having to deal with little bickering things. And they kind of used the big sister thing to their advantage and kind of made it a group-wide role for me to be seen as.
Perfect. So what you're saying is because there's a large group and because obviously the teachers, it's such a busy schedule, they gave you that role as the group big sister to ensure that everyone sort of got along and there wasn't those arguments and bickering happening that didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I guess sometimes one person's tired and the other one might just not be in a good mood, and the argument isn't big enough for it to be something that a teacher really needs to get involved with, but if not resolved, they probably wouldn't be having a very good time.
Right, so you wouldn't want to be standing on top of the Eiffel Tower with a frown on your face.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, okay.
But our teacher that was organising the trip did talk to us before, and he talked about times where maturity comes into play and just having to self-assess yourself, and just kind of, if someone were to say something and you take it the wrong way, maybe take a step back and think, how much did I sleep the night before, of course, and also, how much did this comment really offend me, or am I just not in a great mood? And he also talked about people we could talk to in those situations, and he pointed me out as someone that the group knew and that he thought could take on the responsibility of just being someone to talk to. And if you were having a good day or a bad day, just to come to me and tell me how you were feeling. And in just for a younger approach, I guess. Some people find with teachers, they generally want to do like a formal sit down, and it's not always helpful, but with me we could go get an ice cream and have a chat about it, and I usually turn it into a fun situation.
So you were quite approachable for most of the people in the group, and you were happy to take on that role as the big sis?
Yeah, I was very happy to take it on, and I was really surprised at how many people utilised me in that role. It was really flattering to think that many people trusted me and saw me in that way, that they could come and talk to me, and I was really, happy that our teacher gave me that position too, because it was very honouring and humbling thing to have, even though it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. So it was quite unexpected, but you were really happy and grateful for that role.
Yeah, it was a really nice thing for him to have that kind of trust in me and that much, faith that I could be held that responsibility.
Definitely. Can you think of a particular example where you used your role as a big sis to help someone on the trip?
Yeah, there was a few times where there were small arguments, but there was one that stands out to me the most, would most likely be when there were the girls next to us were making a fair bit of noise, and it was close to curfew, but we thought they were just having a good time. It turns out they were having an argument, and we heard a door slam really loudly, so I went out to see what had happened, and I saw one of the girls walking away from the room really angrily, so I just naturally wanted to help.
Now, when you saw this girl, did she appear to be quite irritated?
Yeah, she looked really mad, but then also, really, really sad and, on the verge of tears.
Right, so she was quite distressed and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What were your immediate actions towards dealing with this?
Well, it was really close to curfew, so the first thing I did was turn to people in my room and tell them that I could see her walking away, then I was going to go after her. And I also asked, because one of the girls in my room, her mum was a teacher on the tour with us, I asked if she could ask her mum to come with me to help this girl in case the situation called for an adult or if we needed help, because I didn't want another teacher finding the girl before I did and getting her in trouble because of, misunderstandings.
So when this is all taking place, obviously you've tackled the situation appropriately by, informing your group where you were going, and you've tried to look for a responsible adult that could maybe come and help as well. What was running through your head? Help me to understand what sort of emotions were going through your headspace at the time.
I guess anxiety at first. I really just wanted to help her and make sure she didn't get in trouble. And then also fear on her part as well. But, it was just my natural instinct kicking in that someone needed to go after her.
And were you worried that there would be a consequence for you travelling outside after curfew, or were you really just worried about the well-being of that student as the big sister role?
No, I think her well-being was my sole focus when I was making my decisions.
Well, that's excellent that you've, tackled that issue appropriately and you went after her and used that big sister role. If we go back for a second and we were talking about the big sister role that you took on, that was quite unexpected like you described, but you were grateful. Was the relationship you shared with this particular girl, would she have viewed you as a big sister at the time, or was this sort of the point where she was starting to take in that you might be that big sister role she needed?
I think it was at that time where she saw me as more that I could be serious and I could really help. I didn't really know her before we'd left for the trip. There was such a large group and I only knew some people, but I'd spoken to her once or twice, and as we travelled, we'd gotten to know each other more. But again, I was always the one making the jokes and making people laugh. But when I did catch up to her, I got to sit down with her alone, and I got to talk with her about what happened. And I think in that moment she saw that I really cared and that I could really help her emotionally, and not just by making her laugh. I could really listen to her feelings.
Yeah, perfect. So if we go back as well, thinking back prior to leaving for Europe, our last session, I do recall you were quite stressed and worried due to the fact that you'd be spending so much time with people that you may not know. Now, having this role and responsibility to ensure that everyone would get along, having conversations and dealing with these little arguments and bickering that might happen, do you think that stress may have gradually turned into something else over the progression of the trip?
I think it was initially stress because there were some people I didn't know, and then there were some people that I did know, and it was just that stress again of needing to keep up this, not my character, because I am that person, but it was just the stress of, needing to make everyone happy. But I think helping others really helped me at certain points too, whereas I got to talk to people and really get to know them better and really, help. And it was really nice for me to be able to get to know them too.
And can you think of any other examples, maybe on the trip, where you sort of wished you had a big sis? Any times on the trip where it sort of might have hindered your experience at all, having all this responsibility and stuff on your shoulders? Did you ever think, hang on a second, what about me? Can't I go to someone?
I think there were times when I didn't really need or want a big sis, but I kind of had to be one to myself. There were a few times when I just wasn't in a great mood, or I may have been a bit down, and I needed to just talk to myself and think, look where you are and look what you're doing and who you're with, and I kind of just helped myself. And I'd spend the day with people and make these amazing memories and go, I don't even remember what I was sad about this morning. And as far as it hindering my experience, I don't think it did at all. I think that people coming to me needing my help was something that really helped us bond, and I really returned from the trip with so many new and different friends than I left with.
Yeah.
And it was a really enabling of me to be able to help them and make sure they were having a good time as well, and I really got to know them.
Perfect. So that's great. You've already identified that maybe having that role as the big sis and listening to other people's problems might have helped you to self-regulate in times where you were having an off day.